So this is the fully electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. Is it worth the watt? Let's find out. So Matt, what's happening? What do you think of this car?
I like it. It doesn't excite me, but I like the car.
Yeah, it doesn't feel, well, we're kind of like spoiled now because we've been testing out all these amazing cars, right?
Right, and that's the problem.
We're always comparing them to something better.
Yeah.
But what if this was your first electric car ever that you drove?
Okay, fine. Let's pretend I've never driven all these other cars. If it was my first electric car, this is what I would say. I would say the drive is super smooth, okay? Like it handles bumps very, very well. I would say it's spacious enough that you can pretty much put your feet everywhere. In fact, the whole front row has open access.
That's the first thing I noticed, and that was my favorite part about the car.
Like, that doesn't happen.
Fully flat floor, just like in the back.
I haven't seen that since like the 70s, and I'm not even born in the 70s, okay? But look, it drives smoothly. The only thing that's holding me back from this car, okay? And like, this is a great car.
From what? You mean purchasing, from not wanting to purchase a car
No,
like this?
I definitely don't think it's a bad purchase. I think it's for a very specific type of person. Like, when I get in this car and I drive it, the performance of it doesn't excite me, you know?
It's
like,
definitely not a sporty feel.
It's not a sporty feel. It's more of like a family.
That's the point, right?
Minivan.
It's a family car.
Right.
So if you are a family with someone with 2 kids, you want to buy a nice family car, I would highly recommend this car.
That's true. In that sense, it's fine. And you know what? When you look inside and you sit in here, there's a lot of little luxurious items that feel good, like the suede feel to the top of the dashboard over here, you know, and then you have this plastic bit which kind of looks like leather, and then you have this brushed plastic front over here which kind of looks like wood. But everything's not perfect in here though.
But the wood panel all across looks really premium.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned to me that you don't love these capacitive buttons on the wood, but it looks really pretty.
So
right?
as someone who has a lot of experience touching capacitive touchpads on my tech channel, this is a terrible implementation of haptic controls, okay? When you press on these things, it's not instant. You have to sometimes push them really hard for it to register your finger, and it's very, very annoying. Like, I feel like usually when you put haptics, it's to replace a button, and usually those haptics are better. In this case, it's the opposite. It makes pressing these things even worse than buttons.
But I still think it looks pretty.
It looks pretty, definitely. It looks very futuristic.
It looks really, it's a really cool, awesome idea to make the car, this is the thing, right? When you drive an electric car, they all basically feel similar, right? So I think a lot of these companies are trying to have their car stand out. What makes this car stand out from the other cars? The first thing you notice, the nice flat floor. Pretty cool, right? The other cool thing to note is this console, the middle console, has an actual button here. You can slide the console all the way to the front or all the way back, depending on, you know, if you have monkey arms like you do, right?
Excuse me, my arms are not monkey.
So if you feel like you need your elbow to be a little bit further, you can move the console further.
And I don't like the placement of the wireless charger. It's inside the glove box.
Yeah, you can't see your phone.
I mean,
you can't see your phone. You have to leave this open.
Okay, fine.
You
can't. Well, look. You can't see your phone is probably a good thing for a lot of people because it'll
when you're
distract you when you're driving, right? But, you know, I don't know. I just don't like the idea in the summertime when it's hot outside and you leave your phone inside your glove compartment that it's not getting any air.
But in the summer, are you having your AC off or on?
I understand that your AC is on, but listen, wireless coils...
So is it going to be boiling in there?
Wireless coils heat up,
right?
And when it's inside of a confined space, it's not good for your phone, okay? So I don't like that.
They tested that, I'm sure, Matt.
Well, I'm going to test that.
Maybe there's a breathing hole somewhere in there.
There's no breathing holes, okay?
Okay.
So the little compartment over here for your water bottles, you have a big complaint about it.
Oh my God. Listen to this. This is what happens when I'm driving sometimes and I'm going over bumps. They're supposed to be, well, there are little, what are these things called?
Grips, I guess?
Grips, but when you put your water bottle in there, that just goes down and then the bottle can just move all over. What about with coffee?
If you have like a big water bottle, it might be okay, but like normal cup sizes, aka coffee, or even just like a regular water bottle like this, there's too much space. You have a button for auto hold, which by the way, I've been using all week to test it out. And the auto hold is hit or miss. Like it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Like I'll stop at a light and it continues to roll, which is not great.
Yeah, and the thing is with the regenerative braking, like you take your foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah.
And it slows down
Yeah, it
but
kicks
not
on.
really,
Well-
because you still always have to use your brake. No matter what, you always have to use the brake, right?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, what
Like
happens
it's on
is,
right now, and I'm letting go of the gas pedal.
Yeah.
It's slowing down, but in order to stop the car, you have to put the foot on the
yeah,
brake.
so what's happening
right?
is it kicks in right away, and then about 20 kilometers, e-gen goes off, and then you have to manually push the brake. So obviously you have the ability to open and close your glove compartment, which you have a secret one right here in the middle.
Oh yeah, with the buttons, I love
With the
that.
capacitive buttons, you can
Love that.
open and close it. You also have another glove compartment, which there's a little button to the left that lets you open it up. So tons of space in the front of the car, which I like. The other buttons are basically your gearbox, which you move up and down if you want to put it in drive or reverse. And then the P button you press if you want to place it in park. Now, Nissan has designed this car to be super aerodynamic. As you can see in the front, there's a lot of svelte spaces going everywhere to cut through the wind, and they even added a bunch of holes in the front. Don't you dare think what I'm thinking. But this is basically here for air to go through so that the car can obviously increase its range. There's one little air hole on each side. The front is very interesting because they do have the camera underneath here. You have the big Nissan logo. This looks like a piece of plastic, which obviously it is, but if you look right through it, you can see some sort of like grill spaces, or kind of looks like a tire rather, the kind of design they're using, but I think it adds a bit of character to the overall design. Now, to get inside the frunk, you can use the button inside of the car. There's no button on your key to open it. But once you're in, you're gonna be kind of disappointed because, you know, there's no space to store anything. Can you tell between me and the car? Because we're both wearing blue jackets. Huh? But seriously, look at the side of this car. It gives me major Nissan Murano vibes. It's not a massive SUV, probably the same size as a Nissan Rogue, but it looks super futuristic, and I think Nissan did a good job with the exterior. You have big 19-inch rims. This is the Platinum edition of this car. It's one of the most expensive models you can buy, but it does start at $55,000 if you want to get the single motor version. Now, these rims are kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of like Shredder from the Ninja Turtles, but I think they just look super mean on a car that's meant to be a bit more family oriented. You have a bit of a black and blue two-tone finish, which I think looks very nice. Now, charging times are interesting. You are using a CCS charger. This is not using CHAdeMO like the Nissan Leaf, thank God. And of course, you have the quick charge option on the bottom. If you're using a level 2 charger, it will charge from 0 to 100% in 14 hours. This model has the 87 kilowatt hour battery, but the single motor version is only using 63. And of course, if you're quick charging this, you can go from 10% to 80% in just 40 minutes. The back of the car swoops down, giving you that coupe look, and then of course you have your window over here. Not the biggest window, but the visibility out of the back is good enough. Not as bad as the Volvo C40 where you have to like wear magnifying glasses on your face to see the rear of the road. Brake light up here, you have the Nissan logo in the middle. This all lights up, which looks fantastic at night. That blue and black two-tone finish continues back here as well. You have the Ariya logo at the left-hand car, Ariya, and then you have the Platinum model number on the right-hand side. This is the E-Force. But look, to get into the trunk, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can use the key that comes with the car. Yes, the car has a key. Or you can swipe your feet underneath. Now, this is hit or miss. It worked this time, but sometimes when I kick under there, I got to be doing one of these, and then finally it opens up. Now, you do have a lot of space inside, like tons of space. It's, you know, it's pretty deep, but it's not that wide. That's kind of what you're trading up for a smaller crossover like this. Your lock and your close button are right over here. This is broken. The last person who reviewed this car broke this. So we're just going to remove this out of the way. We have a lot of space to place your stuff, enough to fit a couple of hockey bags or suitcases. Underneath, not really much space under here, just enough to store your charging cables. But you do have some lights to light up the interior. You have a couple of little knick-knack spots over here. There's no electrical mechanism to put down the seats, which is very unfortunate. I actually have to go to the back seat like this, come in here manually, and then pull it down. The big question though is, does it lie flat? It's kind of a little bit of an angle, but it's still flat enough that you could fit something long inside.
So good job, Nissan, for not having a hump in the back seat like you did on the Nissan Leaf. So the person sitting in the middle will be very happy to know they will have plenty of legroom sitting back here. Nice flat floor, which is so great to see. Seats feel really premium, very, very comfortable. I don't particularly love this ugly flap. Not sure why it's there. I guess it's just to cover these little holes, but they could have done something a little more attractive. So I'm not the biggest fan of these at all. The back of the seats here are actually really cheap looking. They look like a really cheap plastic, but I don't even think they are plastic. They feel like this weird material.
Well, you don't want them too expensive because like kids are going to be kicking the back of it, right?
True,
So
but they just look
you
really
want it easy
cheap.
to clean.
I think they could have done something a little more attractive.
Is there a lot of space at least?
A lot of space under here for my feet, which is great. Windows go down really quickly, but Matt, bad news. When you play hockey,
No pass
you
through?
cannot put your hockey stick through.
I'll
here.
just cut a hole.
So sorry, you're out of luck in this car, but still great to have your little cup holders. Nice speaker here. I like the fact that they put this little grill here to match the speaker.
And the front of the car.
And in the front as well, yes, for sure. I like this suede looking material on the door.
I'm really liking the way the interior looks with the two different colors.
I love that too. I love the two-tone colors.
I do notice that your knees are a little bit higher. And that's due to the fact that the battery's underneath
That's
it.
right. It raises your knees
So
a
for
bit.
long trips, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. It doesn't look too bad.
To be honest, I think I'd rather that than my knees.
Yeah, I guess so. It looks like you have space to put your feet underneath, which is also very important.
Yes, very comfortable. The one thing to note, which you noticed, was that the ceiling height is not as tall as we would like it to be. For me, it's fine because I'm only 5'5", but for someone who is over 6 feet, they probably would hit their head on the ceiling.
I'm loving the sunroof though.
Loving the sunroof. Gives some extra space, so there you go. If you're 6'2", you open the sunroof and you just stick your head out.
Oh yeah, that's the way I want to drive.
Good to go.
How about ports?
Great.
Talk to me about ports.
2 charging ports right here.
One's Type-C, one's USB-A.
Yep.
Got it. And
back seat heating.
3 levels.
Yeah,
And you
which
can
is
control
great.
where you want the air to go. Andrea, how fast does this car go?
So 389 horsepower.
442
pounds of torque.
0 to 60
and 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. And with a full charge, it says about 425 kilometers, give or take. What did we get when we charged
When I fully charged it to 100%, I got 400 kilometers. So it's pretty
400,
close.
okay.
And that's on standard. So I'm guessing 426 is if you use eco mode.
Right. So that's not bad, right? 426.
No, not bad at all.
Terrible.
You know, it's not as good
we can get
as
to the cottage and almost back
right.
with that.
It's not a liter. It's not like competing against the Model Y, since that can go over 500, but still better than some other cars that we've tested recently. But I feel like the price of this car is actually pretty good, you know? Like it starts at 50,000 Canadian rupees.
I think about
and it goes all the way up to $70,000.
I think it starts at 55-ish.
55-ish, yeah. But
that's for the 63 kilowatt.
That's true. Less
battery.
range, single motor,
right?
Whatever. But you know what? 70,000 fully loaded is not bad considering the prices of other cars are in the same price point. Now I do want to talk about some of the tech in the car. So wireless CarPlay is a thing. It works very well. I didn't have any issues connecting my phone. It picks it up immediately and it works perfectly. Android Auto also works great. The only thing I don't like about the technology is that their UI that they use behind it feels a little bit outdated. You do get 2 12-inch screens that are side by side. One is obviously in front of the driver to give you all that driver information. There is a driving assist feature. It works very well, like it keeps you in the lane, but obviously it's not a self-driving car. A bunch of different modes. It ranges from standard, sport, eco, and snow. Sport smashes your head all the way back. Not as back as, let's say, a Tesla, but you know, you get that whiplash feeling when you slam on the gas. Snow, obviously, I haven't tested that one out because it's not snowing yet, but I feel like for day-to-day driving, eco feels the best. The passenger and the driver have the ability to set exactly where their seat wants to go for up to 2 people. You also have a squarish circle wheel, which I kind of dig. Horn is a little on the smaller side, but you have all the buttons that you need in order to control standard functions that you're used to.
When you say square circle,
it's a squircle. It's a squircle wheel. It's like squarish on the bottom, circle up here.
That, but we've seen that before.
Yeah, a lot of cars are doing it.
You said you don't love it.
I'm, you know what? It's grown on me. I kind of like it now.
I like it too.
I don't think it looks cool, but it feels cool, and that's all that matters. You obviously have a big sunroof. It does open up, so you can get a lot of natural light in here. You have a place for your sunglasses. In fact, there's a pair in here right now. You have a bunch of little buttons up here to turn on the lights. Feels a little plasticky, a little on the cheaper side, but I mean, you know, it's just the lights for the top.
Plasticky. What do you want it to be made of? Metal?
I want it to be made out of cashmere. Now, one of the coolest pieces of tech in this car is actually the rear view mirror. This is a mirror and a display. So, for example, if you have a bunch of people sitting in the back or a bunch of your stuff blocking your rear view, you flick the lever forward and the display turns on, showing you your rear view camera. So you get full access to whatever's behind you.
For $70,000, do you think this is worth it?
For 70 grand.
Is this worth it?
For $70,000, I think it's probably not my first pick, but I would still shortlist it. You know, like, it really comes down to the style of ride that you want. I definitely feel like this car is more luxurious inside than a Tesla Model Y. Well, luxurious today, than a Tesla Model Y. But to me, range is always the most important thing when buying an electric vehicle, and the Tesla still sits at the top, and same with the Mach-E. But I feel like for like a city car, the odd road trip, this really nails that. But it does it in a very comfortable way. Like, it's a very family-oriented car, you know, like Nissan Murano vibes here, okay?
Yeah.
And that's where I think it fits in. So the big question, is the Nissan Ariya worth the what? Well, it really depends on who you are. If you're buying this for a family car and you want it to be a smooth, quiet drive, it's perfect for that. But if you're looking for something a bit more peppy, a bit more sporty, with a bit more range, then I personally think the Model Y or the Mach-E are better options. But it really comes down to your own personal preference. Let me know what you guys decide in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.